As we have seen so far, different designers have very different approaches to how they make games and also prototypes. Some mostly use physical prototypes, some prefer the digital ones, but even within these, the approaches can vary as well. Today, we welcome Petr Caslava, one of the authors of Kutna Hora, released by CGE, along with Matus Kotry, designer of Alchemists, Deal with the Devil and Little Alchemists, to talk about their way of making prototypes. So, you told me earlier that you have a method that you go by every time,
yes,
right? And you haven't changed that over the years.
Yes.
What is that method?
It's 3 stages, actually.
Okay.
The first one is theater of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So if I have some idea for a board game, I usually don't bother to create it in any way. I just think about it. Mm-hmm. And in my mind works everything very well. My mind is very peaceful place. But at one moment, I really need to create something more to actually see how everything clicks together. Mm-hmm. So I create a tabletop simulator version, which is a step 2. And there I can actually play round or 2 to see some things connected together. And yes, sometimes I just put a card in it and it's just blank red card. And I just said, okay, this is quest for my heroes.
Okay.
But after 2-3 weeks, I opened that tabletop simulator again. I have no idea what that card means. So I need to create that idea again. So I say, okay, this is probably something like a quest or I don't know. So it still has some flaws to actually design game there. But I'm usually create tabletop simulator really early because it helps me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And
in what?
In what?
Yeah, what does it help you with?
I actually need to see things working together. As I said, in my mind, everything works pretty well. Yeah. But it's not true in a real life. And tabletop simulator actually is a real life. It's simulating real life. There are some things which doesn't work that well, like in a real life. For example, the dice. They are really good in your hand, not in digital environment. But if I forgot these things, tabletop simulator is excellent tool for designers together with, for example, NanDECK, which can be really helpful to create a lot of cards if you are creating something like deck building game or something where is a lot of cards in it. So you really need a tool for that. To create every single card is really painful.
I don't know if you have like a specific process to making prototypes, or if you do different things every time, or if you had a process and that changed over time.
I only made 3 games so far. Okay. Alchemists, Deal with the Devil and Little Alchemists, and it was quite a long time between them. So every time I would say I improved a little bit. So right here is my very first prototype of the original Alchemists. As you see, I didn't even use any cardboard for the board. I was thinking it's not necessary. It's just 2 standard A4 papers glued together.
Yeah, it looks quite different to the final thing.
The layout was reorganized by the graphics designers who made the final game, so it goes in order like this in the final. Here it just goes row after row.
And can we see the cards?
Yeah, sure. So these are some of the first cards. As you can see on this one, it did not have the dots. These are needed for the camera to recognize the cards.
Okay.
So first version did not have them. Then I made the app and I draw the dots by a black marker on the early cards. The newer ones were already with some dots. And here are some first favorite cards. There are mostly just small cards with texts.
They look very cute.
As you can see,
tiny.
yeah, it's tiny because I was just student and I wanted to save the money as much as possible.
Okay. Did you start right away to make this, or did you spend a long time thinking about it on paper, like, other type of paper, not prototype?
Yeah, I was drawing a lot of notes for the main mechanic, for mixing the potions, how that would work, how the different ingredients would combine into potions. I remember I drew a lot of diagrams and stuff like that before I designed this part.
Well, I'm starting in my mind, and when I decide, okay, this prototype is ready for a tabletop version, then I'm usually work with NanDECK, spreadsheets, all these tools, and create digital prototype, which I really want to do as fast as I can, because time is very important.
Yeah.
So I really need to do that really, really fast, and I really need to do that in a way I'm able to change things easily.
Right.
So
Of course.
that's
Yeah.
that's the most important things,
Yeah.
because it will change a lot.
Yeah. Are there any other steps in between or after?
After for sure, because at one moment you really need to create a real physical prototype. So you really need to print it somewhere. We are usually using some printers out there in the city and just print it on the stickers and put it on some cardboard, and it's not anything fancy, to be honest. It's a really simple procedure, but I'm trying to push that moment as far as I can, simply because things always changing. So if you are creating your prototype physically too early, then you will work a lot with that physical prototype.
Yeah.
And I'm really unable to create anything with my hands in real life.
Okay.
If civilization will goes in the wrong direction,
Yeah.
I'll die the day one, because
Okay.
I'm unable to create fire or these kind of things.
Anything.
Anything.
Really?
Like
Okay.
I know only board
Not
games.
even hold matches. I
No.
assume.
I know only board games. How to
Okay.
create a board game,
Yeah.
I know slightly, which means I'll die day one. So I'm pretty sure I will be the first person who die when the civilization ends. So yeah, I really need to push it as far as I can. So
Okay.
I don't want to create physical prototype too early. And then it's slightly painful process for me, but it's necessary, because if you really want to show it to the publisher, you need to have something physical in your hands. Sometimes we are doing some overseas pitch with the different publishers, which you can do online or something like that, but still it needs to be somewhere physically. Even if you just need to take some pictures and put it on your data sheet or something like that. So you really need a physical version.
Yeah, of course. And how pretty does it have to be, or how pretty do you want it to be?
Yeah, I'm pretty glad you said to you, because that's very specific. There are some persons who really need to have everything really, really nice. And there are some other persons who are able to draw with the hand everything, and they don't bother with. I'm somewhere in the middle, probably. I believe you don't need anything fancy to show it to the publisher. It needs to work really, really well, but it doesn't need to look really, really well. But on the other side, if your prototype is ugly, not really good looking, it will not give you some additional points.
Right.
So it's always nice to have some middle ground. So have something nice, and then something you can leave it basically without any graphics and illustrations. Something like this is actually pretty fine. It's anyone can do that, even me. And of course, that's just one part, and then there is a different board, and you can print some pieces on your 3D printer and use them, and it will catch an eye. So if someone will walk around it and say, "Oh, what is it?" and it looks really nice. It's something what you want, because you can say, "Oh, just sit and play," and so on. It helps you playtesting your game on some
get
adventures.
new playtesters.
Yeah, exactly. So it can be quite pretty, but not that much. It's somewhere in the middle from my point of view.
Some early prototype of Deal with the Devil.
I just love
Yeah.
how that looks.
Yeah, also I googled image, but tells a lot about the game.
Nice.
You can see I was recycling components from other games. It was using screens from the Alchemists.
Yes,
So I
yes,
already
of
had
course.
those. I see this is a mix of components from different stages of development. This production circle is a pretty late one.
And now you're using
And
much
these are quite early. These are the chests you used to trade resources with other players. As you can see, they are made of a cardboard box.
Is this part, like where you glue things together and cut prototypes, something you enjoy doing?
It depends. I enjoy it from the start, but when I make the same component for 20th time,
Right.
it's not as much enjoyable anymore.
Yes, I can imagine.
You can see bigger than in Alchemists. I wasn't saving money at that much. Here are some Inquisitors. I remember I was googling these, and these are the Inquisitors from the from Monty Python, but it's not from the original show. But this is some show in the theater. So I chose these pictures, so they are not so it's not so obvious that's those guys. But I wanted something in that style. So for this one, I was also making a digital prototype.
Oh, okay.
I made the digital one, then the paper one, and then some big change came, so I made a new digital one.
Okay.
Tested it myself a little bit, and then I made a new paper prototype from that.
So is this what made you switch to digital prototypes, like the ease with which you can change cards, or?
Yes,
Okay.
because I can test it a lot, and I don't have to throw away so much paper when I change a lot of things.
Yeah.
So as you can see, these are all just different version of the prototype as it evolved. I just used the codename Satan for the digital prototype. So as you can see, I was using Flash to make the prototypes. I don't know if you are familiar with the Adobe Flash technology.
Not really.
It was used a long time ago for short animations on the internet, but then browsers stopped supporting it, so it's not being used anymore. But I already knew how to write programs in Flash, so I chose it as a tool to make my prototypes because it's easy to use, and also it has this inbuilt graphics editor, so I was able to prepare the graphics right here, and I can run it like this. So this is some prototype for Deal with the Devil. So these are cards. As you can see, I can see the bigger version of the card when I hover the mouse on it, and I can. It does not know the rules of the game. I just need to know the rules. I can just drag the cards around. Here I can track the amount of resources each player has. This is the central wheel. I can rotate it to know who produces how much and stuff like this, but I have to control the game all myself. Yeah, and right here I was able to edit the cards, so I can zoom it in. So here on this timeline, this is a timeline usually used for animations in Flash, but here each frame is a different card. So I was able to edit the cards right here, and when I decided to make the paper prototype, I had a script in here. This button says print, and when I press it, it creates, it layouts the cards on sheets of paper, so I can easily print it.
Cool.
I believe some people making mistake creating all the content for your game, and I truly believe that's a mistake.
Okay.
For example, if you are creating some card game and it's let's say deck building, because that's very easy example. In the final game, you will need something like 350 cards. But if you are prototyping, then it's enough. Just play a round or two to see if everything's working, and if you are sure everything is set, then you can create the whole content in it. But that should be always at the end.
Yes.
Because if you create a lot of things and then you need to change a lot of things, that's painful. So just few cards, and don't hesitate to use some dummy cards. As I said, just a red card, blue card, and a yellow card, and just imagine what can be on that card and try to play with it. Try 1 round, 2 rounds, and then if everything seems to be okay, then you can always say, okay, at that moment I will create content for my game, because the core mechanism is set. That's need to be in very early age. You need to know what your game is about. I mean, mechanically. Thematically, you already know that. But mechanically, you need to say, this mechanic is the core of my game, and you are building around it. And for that core mechanic, usually you need just few things. Just create few things, some dummy things, play with it, and create the content later.
So I assume maybe your starting point is from mechanics and not from something else. I don't know, a theme or a table present.
Not really,
No?
to be honest. It's always more complex. I have 3 stages for everything. So I have 3 stages for prototyping, and I have 3 stages for this as well, or 3 legs or something like that. One is a theme which came first or came second, and it doesn't matter to me, because I'm always switching these two. Mechanics, theme, and I'm always thinking with these two together. So I'm trying to recreate some story, and I need some mechanics for that, so it's always connected together. And sometimes I don't know if theme is first, mechanics is second. Usually the theme is first, actually, and then I'm trying to use some mechanics to tell that story, what I want to tell. But there is a third part of the whole process, and that's the most important one. And a lot of designers not using it that much, and I think it's not that great, because you can see it in the game design if designers using that, and that's emotions. So you really need to think, this is the story of my game, these are mechanics which I'm using, and these are emotions which I really want to put into that player. And these 3 things needs to work together. So sometimes I have a story, I have a theme, everything is there, I have a mechanics, but it create different feelings, and I really need to say, is these feelings what I really need to really want to have in my game, or I need to change them? And if I need to change the feeling, it usually means I need to change mechanics. So it goes around. These 3 things are circling around you the whole process.
You're very methodical, like you have your steps, and that's nice.
I don't know, it helps me. It's You can create a game when you are showering or cutting grass, or I don't know. It works. Some games were made that way. I'm usually like a procedure. This is first step, this is the second step. I'm going that way. It keeping me on a track. If I lose my focus, it's usually because I'm doing something out of my procedure, and it's not helpful. Usually, it's not.